Listen to Freshly Squeezed. Orange.
Hello, I'm Jim, and this is Freshly Squeezed, the go-to podcast if you fancy a weekly hit of brand new and brilliant music. Come, check out the tunes, maybe discover your next favourite band, and if you do, make sure you tell everyone where you heard them first. Bit of a globe-trotting episode this week on Freshly Squeezed, not because we're featuring a raft of international artists, but because everyone has apparently decided to go on holiday this week. So sit tight as we spin around the world, stopping in Turkey to chat to the super exciting Dutch Mustard about her latest tune, Life. We're going to be heading to Spain to catch up with the former frontman of the rapturous Lukey B about his new solo project. But before we do any of that, a little less exotic, we're heading to Brighton to chat to an artist that combines the sounds of Lily Allen and The Last Dinner Party, and maybe even a bit of a heart at times. It's Poesie. How you doing?
Hi, I'm really well, thank you. I love your comparisons there, particularly a heart, actually. I haven't got that yet, so that's really great.
Well, that's good. That was going to be one of my questions, like, what do you see as your influences and whether those are accurate? Because when I listen to your music, there are those more modern influences like The Last Dinner Party in there, but there's definitely a thread of 80s going through your music. And I had this image of you kind of flipping through your parents' record collection and taking in the likes of Kate Bush and David Bowie and Queen and a-ha and those kind of classic records. Is there any truth in that?
Yeah, you're absolutely bang on. I think I was so captivated growing up by all those vocalists, like particularly Bowie and Kate Bush, actually. And then within that, also I'd say like Madonna's kind of swimming in my references, and Bjork as well. I was always particularly struck by like strong female vocals, but production-wise, I've been quite attracted to like thick production and kind of almost quite experimental sometimes, which I just think the 80s was obviously fantastic for. And there's just such key, distinct 80s moments, especially in Lost Romantic, that when I first wrote the song, even though I didn't, intend to write an 80s track, I was like, this just is an 80s track.
Feel this longing for a kind of belonging. The streets are thronging, but your heart is weeping.
There's something about like maybe a slightly nostalgic sound that frees up the ability to like sing about stuff that's happening now. And I think that's why they sort of went hand in hand in this case. But yeah, your image of me flipping through those records is absolutely correct. And I still remember when I first heard Kate Bush and I felt like something inside me had just sort of woken up. So yeah.
All those artists that you mentioned and I mentioned, they've got something very much in common. They are all on the more theatrical end of the scale in terms of musicians and performers. And you yourself, you've got a theatrical background, you're a director and a writer. Has that helped you kind of find your sound and have the confidence to perform in what is quite a unique way?
I think, yeah, that's a really good question, because I think theatricality for me definitely frees up the intellect a little bit and makes things feel like they can be less literal and more perhaps in like a fantasy space. And I kind of feel like, one of the reasons we like to experience art is for a feeling of escapism, which I often feel can be quite rooting then, like it can actually help you reconnect to escape for a bit. But I think my theatrical background has definitely helped me lean into theatre and persona and kind of camp with this EP, certainly. And increasingly when I perform, I'm sort of inviting that in as well. And I think those artists definitely pave the way for that sort of like high octane, bedazzling experience, which doesn't like hide. I think there's something really beautiful about that.
So Last Romantic, it is from the EP you just mentioned, which has kind of got a broad theme to it. And that theme is looking for love. Is this an EP that is written from your personal experiences?
I think that Lost Romantic is probably maybe the most personal track, because it doesn't actually like talk about my dating experiences directly, but it more kind of describes, I think, like the emotions of feeling a bit on a treadmill with looking for certain kinds of connection. But I think the love that I explore in all the EP is more about like connection, more kind of broadly. like connection with nature, connection with other people. And Crybaby, which is the last track, is all about the importance of vulnerability and actually how empowering that can be. So I think that while there's personal experience in there, it's a bit of a manifesto, to be honest. And I actually realized after I finished it, I was like, I haven't really been very biographical, but increasingly I don't think I'm so drawn to doing that in my music at the moment, because I think a lot of pop has a reputation for being super personal, particularly like female pop actually. And while I respect that tradition, I think I just think there's so much going on in the world I want to actually talk about. And like in this case, Most Romantic was kind of the intersection of like the personal, the social, the political with kind of dating apps. So yeah, that's what that kind of focuses on.
I saw on your Instagram that you were at Isle of Wight Festival this year as a punter this time around. But when you're there in a crowd like that, Isle of Wight or somewhere else, how much of your time is spent enjoying what's happening on stage in front of you? And how much of it at the stage you're at is spent going, I really wish the roles were reversed here. I really wish I was up there in front of 3,000 people or whatever.
I think like the opportunity to be inspired by artists is just massive. Like even if you're not someone that does perform or even, you know, is like a bedroom singer person, but doesn't want to have ambitions beyond that, I still think witnessing art on that scale and being in a massive crowd to sort of, you know, share that together is just so powerful and so special. So I kind of think it's a blend. Like I definitely was watching particular performers' crowd work and thinking, gosh, like they've really been doing this for years. They're so good at this. And then I was also kind of marveling at like Sting's voice, for example, his voice still sounds like he's in his 20s, but apparently he's a massive health freak. So I felt like that's probably why. But I think when I was at the festival, I really was just committed to seeing who I wanted to see and enjoying it. But obviously in hindsight, you go through the highs and you think, gosh, what made those moments so special? Like how did that performer get that level of connection from the crowd? So I think, yeah, it's kind of equal parts really. But obviously it's all going in there for when I do eventually perform at a bigger scale, which is exciting to think about.
How far off does that feel at the moment? Is the festival circuit something you're going to look at for next year?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few festivals I'm putting feelers out for at the moment. And I think my big aim for the next, from October really is to just gig lots. Because I'm sort of, you know, I've been, doing the Instagram stuff, doing the TikTok stuff to my best ability. It doesn't come naturally to me. I am nearly 30, but I'm still persisting. But I think I still think that, you know, live spaces are the best way to actually build a genuine fan base. And I just really love the experience of performing live. So I'm trying to do more gigs with a view to kind of getting better and better for festivals down the line.
Well, fingers crossed for you, Poesie. Really enjoying the brand new music. And I think what I really like about your stuff as well is that I think sometimes the likes of The Last Dinner Party and the Florence and the Machine, who maybe you kind of share a space with, they can sometimes feel like they're taking themselves too seriously. And I think your music approaches that slightly differently. There is a sense of fun. There's a sense of self-depreciation there as well, which I really like.
That's such a big compliment. Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to hearing what comes next. But we're going to play Last Romantic on Freshly Squeezed. And cheers for your time.
Thank you so much, Jim. Have a great day.
You delete and re-download Hinge like a secret addict, denying that you have a problem. But the drugs don't work. All you want is meaningful chats, and maybe this is crazy, but being asked some questions would be nice about what interests you.
Loving that. Very dramatic, very cool. That's Poesie on Freshly Squeezed. Next up, grab a chorizo, crack open a cerveza. We're going to chat to Lukey B, who's currently chilling somewhere in Spain. How do you, mate?
I'm good.
Where are you exactly in Spain at the moment?
Mas de Verge.
I've no idea where that is. Let's be more broad.
It's northern Spain. About an hour or something from Barcelona.
And what takes you to northern Spain at the moment?
Just to get away, really. I was just come in a camper van with my friend. I'm currently sitting under a tree, and yeah, just get away and write some music.
Is that kind of a common thing for you? Do you have to take yourself out of the chaos of everyday life and remove yourself in order to be productive in terms of writing?
Well, it never used to be, but it's definitely a new thing.
I think if you've got the opportunity to go to northern Spain and sit under a tree and write, you take it, right?
Exactly.
Well, we're going to talk about your brand new tune, Technology Zombies, but in terms of you as an individual, this is solo work, but you're fairly new to the solo stuff, I think, aren't you? You were in a band called The Rapturous before. What prompted the move to kind of take it in a solo direction?
Well, basically, the band, after 10 years, we did quite well with stuff, we're sort of breaking up. But my best friend actually took her own life. I was like, well, I need to get this out as a solo artist. The band weren't even broken up at this point. Basically, I wrote a song about my best friend taking her own life, and then it just kicked it all off. So out of every negative comes a positive, I think. Yeah, it's mad.
So when you released that song, was it not an attempt to kind of go down the solo route? It was just kind of like almost a way to deal with the trauma that you've been through, I guess.
Exactly. That's the only way I deal with it. Is music. It always has been. You know, we all got trauma. I've had quite a lot, but we all have it. You know, that's my way. You know, to be able to process things, and it just kicked it off. It just really started kicking. It went straight to BBC introducing that track, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I got a show in London, a headline. I was like, oh, okay. And now, like, I've had a good few months off, just getting my head back together, and I'm ready to come back with this track. And you're the first to speak to me about it.
Ah, I feel privileged. What have you found to be the biggest difference between working solo as an individual and working with the band around you?
Well, I've got like, 50 songs written on my laptop that sat there for like all my life. And sometimes my tracks don't work with the band. And I think the difference is I miss just having a microphone in my hand and just having me in the crowd because I'm good at that, just, sort of vibing off the crowd. But now I've like sometimes when I play, I put like a loop machine, pedals, guitar, it's like a lot more. But, it's the way it's got to be for the minute. One day I might have a band, but this is the way it is.
I did notice with the new tune, it kind of builds. It's got kind of goes one element at a time, starts with the acoustic, and then kind of more and more comes into play as it goes through. Is that a product of the way you do play live, that you have got the loop pedal? And obviously, by the nature of having a loop pedal, you kind of need to build as you go to a certain extent.
Yeah. I don't play it like that live.
Okay.
The track, I don't know how I'm going to. Well, I played it live just acoustically the last gig. The last gig I played was the first time I played that track. And there's session musicians in that track. It was recorded at the Joplin House. Dan Lucas was on it. I may play with a backing track or I may just try and loop, but because the chords change, I don't know if I'm going to be able to because I like to build as I loop. So it still gives that live feel. Otherwise, it just feels like I'm cheated. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'll work it out because I've got a show quite soon. So I better work it out.
From what I've heard of your music, and I'll be honest with you, I've not heard a lot of you previously, but I've listened to a bit of your solo stuff. I've listened to a bit of your band stuff as well. It feels to me, from my narrow experience, there is a real musical difference. I think a lot of the band stuff kind of reminds me almost of Beastie Boys at time, whereas this new stuff feels more acoustic, more Liam Gallagher. Are you finding yourself, I mean, you mentioned you've got this back catalogue of songs. Are these songs that you had that you could never quite square with the band, but now you've got this new style that enables you to pull them out of the bag?
Exactly that. Loads of songs didn't work with the band, and then loads of songs did. It was just one of them. We worked fine. We all had different genres, very diverse. So, like, it had to sort of all work together. This track is the first track of an oncoming EP, Forgotten, and the tracks on that are diverse. It is more or less alternative indie, I guess, but it does sway off. Sometimes I rap, and then sometimes it's a bit more soul-y, But I suppose the heart is that sort of, Manchester vibe.
New tune, Technology Zombies. I mean, I think the title is pretty self-explanatory in terms of the subject matter of the song and people being drawn into their phones and their screen time and all that kind of thing. Why was this an important message that you needed to get out in your song?
Well, I probably wrote it about a year or two ago, and it just sat on my laptop. And then I didn't work for a bit because I was like, it just didn't work. I was just doing music. So I was just on my phone all the time, I even say in the track that I'm the same as you. I'm not judging everyone. We're all the same, And then I'd be down, a park and seeing kids on iPads, and it just sort of come to me. I was like, man, the world's gone a bit crazy, isn't it? Like we are all zombies, this technology. And we both are, otherwise we wouldn't be speaking to each other. There's pros to it, but it's the biggest addiction in the world. You know, I think it causes depression and all sorts of things. It's just a case of you've got to be in control of it. You know, like the teens playing PS5. I wrote that about my nephews. They're up all night playing PlayStation or whatever, you know, and they're asleep all day. They're not going outside. It's all real. It's all from the heart. It really is a thing.
Well, I think that's the perfect junction to get into the tune. Loving the new tune,
Yeah,
Luke.
yeah.
Good luck for the EP as well. Really excited to hear that when it comes. And I'll let you get back to the Cerveza in the Sunshine. Cheers for joining me on Freshly Squeezed.
No worries. Thank you, mate.
Take me back to the 90s where there weren't so many phones, just feeling the vibes, hearing the lines, cameras taking pictures for their Facebook and their Instas. Just let the phones go, they're taking control. Technology's our lead. We ain't got no privacy. Remember how it used to be. Kids watching iPads just to fall asleep. They don't go outside no more. Tell me what they're hiding from. Scrolling away while you lie in bed, watching the TikTok till you lose your head. 'Cause I don't
More from Lukey B, although admittedly not a whole lot more, as there isn't a great deal around, via the links in the podcast description. It's the same for all the artists we feature on the podcast. If you want to hear more, head to the blurb, click the links. But from Spain, we're travelling around 1,400 miles east, so Google tells me, to the capital of Turkey, where we find SJ, aka Dutch Mustard. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, really good. So you're currently in Istanbul, just kind of, I love it. For some reason, I love it when I speak to people who aren't just kind of in their bedrooms or in the studio or something like that. Just talk me through what you can see. What's in front of you? What have you got going on the table? Have you got a coffee on the go? What's happening?
I've got a tea coming because I just had a coffee at another cafe. I thought I'd try and find better internet, but this is what it is. I can just actually see lots of cars, and it's a very little busy like crossing in town. So I hope there's not too many like beeping cars. But it's very sunny here. It's very, very cute and sunny and nice.
Have you gone cultural? Are you doing the sweet tea or are you going kind of English person
No,
abroad?
I'm so boring.
Okay.
So I've got a green tea. I've got a green tea coming. But I did get the like Turkish dessert yesterday on the way back to the hotel, and they were really good.
Love a
So,
baklava.
and I had meze for dinner. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, let's start in a really obvious place. And regular listeners to the podcast will know I hate this question, but at the same time, I need to know where the name Dutch mustard comes from because it feels like there's a story there. I don't know whether Dutch mustard sounds like it's something you'd get in IKEA or it feels like a phrase from Urban Dictionary, but what was the starting point for Dutch mustard?
Well, I used to work at Wembley Guitar Centre. I actually worked at a few shops on Denmark Street as well, but that was the first one. And my friend Phil, he was helping me search for band names. We were using like the band name generator website and all these things. And we just couldn't find anything. And I'd said to myself at the time, I'm going to book a load of gigs in as a band before I even had a band so that it would like make me find the members and everything. And we went out and did the first gig as like Sarah Jane and Band. And it was obviously an awful name. And then after that, my mate, it's just terrible. But yeah, after that, my friend Phil just came out with, oh, what about Dutch mustard, mate? And I was like, oh, I don't really know, man. Not sure about that. And he was like, well, I think it's got a ring to it. I was like, okay, then. So we sort of did like the first 3.5 years of gigging with that name. And then I loved it so much, I actually got it tattooed on my rib.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But then things changed up a bit in the band. It's now like a solo project. And I just thought, is it embarrassing that I basically got myself tattooed on myself? And then I was like, whatever. There was a time and it was, yeah, it's still a collective. So I see it like that.
I recently caught you in Manchester, which I think was part of your UK tour. Was that the first proper tour that you've done as a headline artist?
Yeah, it was the first proper one. Like we did a few gigs like around the country a few years ago, but this was like the one with the new music, and yeah, it was the first like official tour. Quite nerve-wracking, but really lovely.
How did you find the experience? Was it the glamorous rock and roll lifestyle you expected it to be?
It's funny because as a kid you think, like being a rock star and making music, that it's like, partying all the time and like, yeah, but that sort of glamorous stuff, but it's really not. It's like one of the most hardworking industries, you can be in. Like, I mean, I was driving a lot, especially as an independent. I had to sort of budget plan. I booked the tour myself. I didn't use a promoter, and this was all ways to like make sure that the money went directly to the band, basically, so that we could actually get on the road. Because petrol, accommodation, the venues have to be paid off, players, all that stuff. It was a lot for me because I tour managed it and I booked it. Like I drove a lot of it, but luckily my guitarist Luke like drove a lot as well, and Toby took over drummer as well. So I mean, without them being so supportive, it would have been really, really difficult. So it was just exhaustion really that got me in the end, because I thought, oh, I can exercise during the day. Like, no way. Like I forgot how much like the driving would absolutely destroy me. But yeah, it was great.
It feels like the hard work is paying off. There's a few accolades flooding in terms of you as an artist. I'm going to rattle off a few now. So you were cited by the Grammy website as one of 6 female-fronted acts, reviving rock alongside Wet Leg for that one. You've got industry heavyweights supporting you, so like John Kennedy's played you on X, Steve Lamac's played you on 6 as well, Iggy Pop's championed your music, Bill Ryder-Jones from the Corals worked with you on the song Loser. What does that do to the weight of expectation on your shoulders? Does it pile the pressure on in any way, or is it just lovely to have the support and people saying nice things about you?
It's lovely to have the people support and say nice things. And obviously it's a huge confidence boost when people you look up to like want to work with you as well. Yeah, it just kind of makes you feel like, oh, I'm doing something right. Like something is happening here. There's a shift. But the shift doesn't happen without like making it happen, if that makes sense. So I'm just really like grateful that the people that I reached out to like turned around and were like, yeah, I'd love to like get involved. And like that the DJs that played the songs and stuff, they listened to it and they really liked it. That's pure luck in a way. I mean, you have to obviously work hard to be able to even get it in front of them, but they still have like, I don't know, 90 songs a day to choose through to even play stuff or give feedback. So yeah, it puts a little bit of pressure on, but ultimately I just keep telling myself, like, every time I feel that pressure, I'm like, why do you make music? And it's like, well, because I love doing it. Well, then there's nothing to worry about. Like, I think if you set these, obviously I want to play Wembley one day, like, that's big goals. And I'm not saying I don't have those goals, but I think you've got to start somewhere, and we just forget to like be present in everything. So I feel like the more I can just sort of bring it back to what it's really about, which is making amazing music and the best music I can and connecting with people and being as authentic and truthful as I can be, like focus on that. And then the rest will come naturally,
I love that. As much as it sounds like something that you'd find in a fortune cookie, it's like the journey's as important as the destination. That's the kind of ethos there, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, like remove that pressure, because you just, I've driven myself insane over the years with that pressure, and it's not good for anybody, really. Bring it back to yourself, bring it back to the music, bring it back to what it's really about. And then the pressure sort of slowly like drops off,
Well, let's talk about the brand new tune before we play it on Freshly Squeezed. It's called Life. It's a bit more frenetic and a bit dancier, I think, than what I've heard from you before. And it's really led by this kind of drum beat. It's almost got a Chemical Brothers and LCD sound system feel to it. Is this a sign of kind of a new direction for Dutch Mustard?
I basically love those bands you just mentioned.
Handy, and, that's useful.
I think, yeah, absolutely love them. And there's always been a part of me that like loved like sort of industrial sound, like 9 Inch Nails and like LCD sound system, like dance music and Chemical Brothers, things like that. But I do want to keep it dreamy as well. So even in the vocal, like even though Life, it's like super upbeat, super drivey, that vocal is still very ethereal and like dreamy. And it sort of brings it back to my sound, It's definitely a new direction. I've gone out there and gone, okay, I have it. Like, this is something else I can do. But I think it was just, I was working with Dean James Barrett and his business partner, Craigie Dodds. And we just jumped in and I said to them, like, this has happened to me recently, this is a riff I've got. And they were like, well, should I make a beat? I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And it just sort of turned into a more electronically like track. And that is something I would like to do more of, definitely. But it's not something I'm gonna like set all my focus on, you know, because I definitely feel like I've set my roots in that sort of dreamy world as well. So I want to make sure that there's definitely like a blend of both always.
Well, excited to hear what direction it goes in. I know you've started work writing the debut album, even if there are no firm plans for release yet. So we'll be interested to see where you take the music on that as and when it comes. But SJ, really nice to speak to you, and thanks for coming on Freshly Squeezed.
Thank you so much.
I love that so much. The other stuff from Dutch Mustard is also very cool, although it is also very different. It's very much more shoegazy than that. That's my favourite, but I like all the stuff. As I said, caught her in Manchester at a very sweaty venue called the Rat and Pigeon a few weeks back. The room can't have held more than about 50 people. It was packed, it was very hot, but I was super impressed, as were the Rosella's boys, who also popped in to check her out. Big things await. So more from her via the link in the podcast bio, as there is with all the artists. Go click to find out more, and whilst you're in the mood for clicking things, also click the follow button for this podcast, and we will make sure you get the next episode as soon as it's ready. I'll see you then. Cheers for them ears.
Freshly Squeezed, a new music podcast, was devised, produced and posted by Jim Salveson. Sound design and additional production by Ant McKinley. The music, Blue Blazer, is written and produced by Spin Class. Stop.